I've been up reading the comments about the interview I did with Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant. And I know that if I had only seen the clip that you saw, I'd be extremely angry with me too. I am mortified, I'm embarrassed, and I am very angry. Unbeknownst to me, my network put up a clip from a very wide-ranging interview, totally taken out of context, and when you see it that way, it's very jarring. It's jarring to me. I didn't even know anything about it. I started getting calls. What the hell are you doing? Why did you say this? What is happening? I did not know what people are talking about. So I've been told, or I've been advised, to say nothing. Just let it go. People will drag you. People will troll you. It'll be over in a couple of days. But that's not good enough for me, because I really want people to understand.
When I said what I said, I spoke for the people who felt like Gayle was very disrespectful towards Kobe Bryant and his family. Now, with that being said, what I look like wants some harm to come to a 70-year-old woman. I was raised way better than that. I didn't want no harm to come to her and didn't threaten her. All I did was said, check it out. You out of pocket for what you're doing, and we watching you. Have a little bit more respect for Vanessa, her babies, and Kobe Bryant's legacy. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to do what I got to keep doing. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. We're very nonviolent. We just want to say that first and foremost. We speak from the heart. Some of you who have no heart don't understand that. But anyway, carry on and enjoy your day.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome in. It's another week of Leading Women Weekly. And your leading women hanging out with you today. Of course, you know me. I'm DryerBuzz and
Angela Stallcup.
Angela is our scientist. She's got the science. I've got the data and the blogging. And we got to, y'all know I never give disclaimers, but it's a new day in social media. It's a new day in social media. So let me get comfortable. Let me give you some disclaimers. Angela and I started a podcast, and our podcast was called Leading Women. As Leading Women, we started with Michelle Bonmature, and that we called it Becoming a Podcast. Mm-hmm. And now we are full-on broadcast, where you get to come and hang out with us after church or on Sunday before a game and all that kind of stuff. And give us a good 30 to 45 minutes, and depending on how much time life gives us, we want to kind of come in and talk about what happened during the week. Now, again, the disclaimers, like I said, as you know, this week, things pretty much changed as to the freedoms we thought we had on social media. And I say it's all going to change come Monday after Snoop versus Gayle King. And we're going to do our best to leave Kobe Bryant, his memorial, his legacy, his family out of this conversation, because we want to talk to you from a perspective that we really have an interest in this. Angela as publicity and PR, myself as a blogger. And I did a video, Angela, where I talked about what's in an interview, because I really wanted to talk about what I thought, what I think I really know about Gayle King, and as a follower, as a favorite listener. You know, she calls everybody favorite listener, favorite viewer, and there's a lot to unpack with this. And in our time, we want to try and unpack it. Now, what I want to ask everybody, let us commit to this. If you've already arrived at an opinion or a stance, not even an opinion, a stance, and you're not going to move, you're not even willing to move from that, then this is not the broadcast for you. I'm not going to try and influence you one way or the other, but there's so much beyond Snoop dropping his emotional video, Gayle dropping her emotional video, Snoop doing the response, and who else did somebody else did a response? Rice.
Yeah, Susan Rice, right.
Ava finally tweeted, because I was on Ava's timeline like this.
Yep.
I was posted up. I was like, because Ava is very vocal, but we know that she has an alliance and an allegiance. And while we knew she would support Gayle, I knew that she would be somewhat unbiased and say, hey, listen, here's the right thing we need to do.
Well, and Oprah herself, of course, chiming in on this. But I think it's so
Oh,
interesting.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
That was the other
Oprah
video.
going on the Today Show.
On the Today Show. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not an Oprah stan.
Mm-hmm.
If people knows that mean. I think I'm objective. I don't think I'm biased.
No, and
I think I am objective when it comes to Oprah. And I can look at one of the problems with this whole situation is Oprah's history with black men, and then Gayle being her friend.
Well, and I think this is really, again, here's all my disclaimers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is
You
that,
give your
yeah, let me
disclaimers,
give my
I'll do
disclaimers.
my shares. Go
Is,
ahead.
and I like Oprah, but I am not an Oprah stan either. About half the time I'm mad at Oprah or have a problem with Oprah. So I want to say that. I'm a fan of Gayle, again, but not a Gayle stan, right? So I think this makes it interesting for us to talk about. Even though I got my picture with Oprah and Oprah touched my boobs.
Which we have to mention.
I have to say it every time.
We have to mention our trollage.
Right.
One reason Angela and I know each other because we crossed paths over and over.
Yeah.
And we ended up at the same, was that the Oprah event?
Yeah, it was the Oprah event.
We had the Oprah event and then the Michelle Obama event in
Mm-hmm.
common. And running into each other and say, hey, we got like minds. We need to work together.
But I appreciate that you've set up.
We're gonna have to put your Oprah picture.
Yeah, put my Oprah picture right here.
And we'll put my Oprah video, Oprah picture, and Michelle Obama.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
But I think any of these people are open to criticism and critique.
Are they?
And I think we can critique anybody.
And that's the thing. Gayle, in everything that she said, she didn't say don't critique me. Right?
And I think Gayle is open to critique.
I'm gonna tell y'all, I love Gayle.
I do too, and I think that and we've had these discussions offline many times. I don't know that we've really talked about it online. Is of Gayle kind of getting, she gets lumped into Oprah
all day, every day,
and she has an interesting person in her own stead, and and
not Stedman, but Stead.
Yes,
her own Steve, what some of us would say,
right?
Because I had to on a post earlier, somebody who said they respect my opinion, and they were talking, and I said, they said, Gayle hasn't done these other interviews, and I said, wait, because I shared some of the links that you gave me, that Gayle has interviewed Weinstein's attorney, and they go, well, that's not Weinstein. Okay, well, she didn't interview Kobe, she interviewed a friend of Kobe.
No one has interviewed Weinstein.
Right.
He's not available for interviews.
There's another piece we got to throw out about Weinstein's attorney. She had some stuff to say.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be next week's conversation. Because she literally said that what's going on with Weinstein, the women who are leading the accusations against Weinstein, she tweeted, or somebody tweeted today, that she said, well, I wouldn't put myself in that position.
Oh, yeah, that we're going to have to talk about that.
And I'm like, wait. And you know me, I had to be real catty. Yeah. And I was like, girl, you are walking with Weinstein behind you. That is the position.
Yes.
Okay.
And that I would say, find that tweet because it's lovely.
Oh,
when I saw that, I was like, dang.
I did a snoop on that one without the threads. Yeah. I was like, I was like, we got a producer this week. Oh, let me just show that the show is being produced by Patty Betty, and she just told me, bring it down. Okay.
Because we're blowing out the sound.
We're excited to talk about this, and the ladies and gentlemen are already on.
All right.
So hello to Derek Bozeman, Rita, Kim Atwater, Carmen, Michelle, Jackie. They're over on the DryerBuzz page. And we've got
so in Periscope we've got at My3Sorry, Weather Sports 2. Same. I'm sorry. I can't have C. Same D. Lots of X's.
Right. And Angela's already halfway into her weekend mimosa.
Yes. And Yolanda has determined that if she gets me just a little buzz, she's DryerBuzz. She gets me just a little buzzed. I get entertaining. And everyone else, we've just had Eric Demir joined. If I didn't say your name, I'm sorry because my blurry eyes can't read.
All right. So, like I said, we want to have this discussion. And we what did we say? M and M. What was the M and M? And I said that this was
mobbings and misunderstandings.
Mobbings and misunderstanding, because it's really a misunderstanding. A lot of people. Intended audiences. We're gonna talk from a perspective of intended audiences, because there was the interview, which was scheduled for CBS's intended audiences, and something that I've done newspaper interviews, I've done radio interviews about backlash when it comes to social media. Having done social media, being a social media pioneer, original digital, people ask, well, where does the backlash comes from? And one of the things I'm telling, or I often tell, a lot of these entities, television, which, you know, they're just now really figuring out how to use social media with their broadcasting, even though I was telling them to get ready for this 30 years ago. The backlash comes from those that are not or never in your intended audience. I can't imagine Snoop Dogg being up early enough to watch CBS this morning.
And this is so true, is that the backlash against that interview, the question is, are these people watching CBS? Not that there's not a fair reason to have this, right, to have a response to it and to critique it, to have a problem with it, right?
Right.
But I thought this had already aired on CBS. This had aired on CBS and was posted online.
But can they use that to quell the emotion?
Right. Only after the fact, when somebody at CBS decided to take this one part.
Well, let's not say somebody at CBS, because, I mean, this person is in their job description.
That's true. Is a producer, a social media
called
person.
social media strategist.
Yes. And
this is a job.
Yes. And I think this is something that, again, I want to back out a little, just a second, to talk about what's the difference between Gayle and Oprah. Oprah is her own company. Right. She gets to she has final say on all of her creative decisions. Gayle is an employee of CBS, and so she has
no control of the creative decisions.
She has a hierarchy of this. Now, I'm not saying that she doesn't have a lot of pull and a lot of say, but she doesn't necessarily have final cut on things, right?
Right.
And so, just saying, when she said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know how this was going to be edited,"
and she said, "Unbeknownst to me, that there would be some kind of campaign even after the interview."
Right. That's legitimate. But back to this point of the audience, right?
So
the intended audience for that interview were the viewers
of CBS,
most likely on television.
On television.
That's going to tell you a demographic right there, right? Of who's watching television. CBS this morning is one of the more conservative. CBS News is one of the more conservative news outlets. I'm going to say this is probably a predominantly white audience, although I don't know what their demographics are.
With the lowest of viewership.
Yes, and it's the lowest of viewership, so they're always scraping, right, to get viewers. When that aired on CBS, nobody said anything. It wasn't until it hit another audience, right?
But let's go back when we say nobody said anything. Remember, who's the radio guy that just recently died? He did the nappy-headed comment.
Imus.
Right? Same thing. When Imus said nappy-headed, it went out to its intended audience.
Yes.
Okay? He said it live on air. And nobody got it. It was until an influencer or a person who was offended took it and said, "Wait, did he just say that? Hey, everybody, do you know this guy gets paid to say these kind of things?" So that's where I'm just trying to show you where we mean when we say intended audience. And now Tyler Perry had the problem with his movie.
Yeah,
he thought going to Netflix or putting out his trailer, it was going to go to the intended audience, and he had to backtrack and explain that as well.
And so the intended audience the original interview were television viewers of CBS This Morning, right? So let's, that's a very specific and
they don't give
quantifiable demographic. Right. When they put it on, when CBS social media strategists put it on Twitter, Facebook, I don't know where this was. I'm assuming it was seen on Twitter by Snoop.
Right, because of the time. Well, probably Instagram.
Oh,
Instagram. The Instagram guy.
See, that's right. He's an Instagram guy. So it was put on Instagram, right?
Although Snoop was one of the first, along with myself, on Twitter.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And he's big social media guy, right? So going on to social media in general is a different audience. And one of the
beyond your intended audience. We live in public.
Right. And one of the things that has happened is that a lot of news now is consumed by people on social media first.
Which we know.
It's not consumed on television. So it's an interesting thing from step
that they
one.
Didn't know.
That they didn't even think about.
Did they not, though? We still don't know that yet. Because we got to wait. Because this all happened as people were off work.
See?
Okay, so we don't know come Monday, right?
Right. And Gayle's take on it is CBS social media strategist did this on purpose to be salacious. That's really what her statement is.
And that's what they're paid to do.
And they're paid to generate clicks And if it's controversy,
clicks and follows and likes and emotion.
Right.
And see, this is the thing. You guys know I've been telling you this forever. MEDIA, media. Okay? You don't start a media outlet of any sort unless you are willing to manipulate emotions. That's the reason you do. We're here today to kind of help you manipulate your emotions. Yeah. Manipulate emotions, disseminating information in abstract. It's a class I teach all the time. If you are going to use social media, particularly for business, you have got to manipulate emotions. So by all I want to say not categories, but all circumstances, this thing worked.
Oh boy, it did.
Okay, this thing worked. I mean, taking that clip, and it got people looking at what the unfortunate part was. What it did not do is what it should have done is have people really go and see what else is Gayle King done. What else is CBS
what else
bringing?
Is CBS
Unfortunately, because it hit at the wrong time, and this is why I say stop using all this pre-programming and all of that, and make sure you're really up. Because, in fact, I had to advise my customers. It's like, listen, during this time, you've got when the death of Kobe happened. And some other items happen. If you have any content scheduled, or if you're using any of these apps, turn them off in such a time as this. Especially because I had a restaurant. You don't want certain content hitting at a time when emotion is at an all-time high.
Well, and that's it. And can we say hi to Michelle? Because I see Michelle's
on there.
Michelle
just jumped on there as well.
And we've got so many people on Periscope, and I'm like.
So keep in mind, we're talking to you from a perspective of being a blogger and a PR strategist, and not only a PR strategist, we've given you every kind of science title. But
and strategic communication is really the sort of the
umbrella. Communication.
Right, about communication.
Right? Communication.
And how the words, the platforms, the whole thing. And so you're exactly right. This accomplished the immediate goal.
It did.
Of getting people emotional. And sharing and engaging that content. So there's somebody sitting around at CBS said, look at all my content, my clicks and whatever. However, there's no point to being controversial just to be controversial if it doesn't drive into something, right? Or being emotional just to be emotional.
And we won't ever know where they were really trying to go.
If anything, this is going to make CBS have fewer viewers of a certain demographic.
You know who's happy right now, though?
Today's Show.
No, because Today's Show. We're gonna talk about because the two networks that should have not even touched this in the first place was NBC and CBS.
Absolutely,
because they themselves have very controversial things going on, and I'm going to talk about that later on when we talk about how Gayle conducted not only this but also the Weinstein interview. Because I knew she was asking the questions she was asking was trying to validate her own position as she herself sits in the middle of controversy just like this. Her co-anchor Charlie Rose is no longer on the air because he had to be brought down because he found out that he was allegedly, and I don't even know where that situation is. But let's go back. Let's go back because I want to go back to what was supposed to happen. First of all, the issue in and of itself, all eyes were on TMZ. People were already upset because keep in mind that we're only talking about our social media freedoms that are going to change come Monday. TMZ posted the helicopter crash with the death notice, without all of the information. Family members found out, family, friends, the entire world found out that Kobe's helicopter had crashed. And not only, they didn't even do what they used to do back in the day, just say that there had been a crash. And we don't know all the details. They could have just led with that and then let people just be on alarm. Their first post was Kobe is dead, right? And everybody, including his family, found out in that manner. So people were already overly concerned with how are we doing? How did we get to this point where we will get this kind of information? And I know what that feels like because I remember working a story during after 9/11 with the war. I was covering soldiers, how many soldiers we were losing each day, and having watched a vehicle blow up and then getting the notification, like, whoa, that's somebody, that was the person in that vehicle, was somebody that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And getting that call on Christmas Day that this family very close to us is now dealing with this, and it went back to, wait, I saw that, I was delivered that information, who knew it was them? So we deal with what can we and what can we not say. And let me tell you, Angela and I, even addressing this, are two very brave women. The video, let's go back to the two videos that we showed at the beginning.
Yeah.
Snoop has come back. He did a second video, and the very first part, he said, I'm not a violent person.
Yeah, well, good.
But let me just say, Snoop, and I don't even want to talk to Snoop, because if you compare the second Snoop to the first Snoop, it's a big difference. Now, we know his emotions were very high and strong in the first video, and yes, there were threats in that video.
Yeah.
He said he didn't threaten anybody.
He did.
We all watched that video, because we get these kind of Snoop alerts. Let's call them Snoop alerts. Because we get them all the time.
Yeah.
The Snoop is like, oh, y'all need, Snoop is always doing the, come look at this.
Right.
Come check this out.
Right.
Somebody's out of pocket, and you either get it from Snoop, or I'm just saying, the hip-hoppers. You get it from Snoop, 50 Cent, even Lil Boosie. And I don't think they call him Lil Boosie no more. They call him Boosie. Boosie badass. You know, you get it from them, and you know something's going on in that genre or so forth. So we got that. But if you compare the first video and the second video, yes, the first video was threatening. Yes, even the second video, if you want to talk about misogyny, it had a lot of misogyny in the second video.
Well, the first video, and I'm not, full disclaimer, I've not seen the second. I've got to go look at it.
Yeah, I got to look at the second.
But looking at the first one, you can feel it, right? So again, as a communication, and we're looking at it from just a flat communication, the anger, the rage, and there was
rightfully so, based on the limited information he had.
Absolutely, and the misogynistic piece of it. But I want to go back to this about justifiable anger.
Right.
And part of what fascinates me in this, right, understanding where my lane is, right? I'm a white lady. I get it.
She's not light skinned.
I'm not light skinned. I'm a white lady, and I really want to be respectful of conversations and that I don't need to be. My opinion is not wanted nor needed, but to look at how do we mourn in public,
right?
Because we are mourning in public,
grieving, not even mourning, because we haven't even got to the mourning part.
Even as private individuals, it goes back to what you just described: is that you find out about someone you cared about who died in a public way,
right? And
there is a feeling to it. So what is so again we get this.
Is it strange that we've seen all of this?
Yes, and we are still shaping how we communicate around this.
Right.
But I want to say, when people are grieving,
and that's where Gayle went wrong.
Anger, rage, strong words. Right. People will say things. People will behave in ways that they might not otherwise feel because of grief. And I think part of what we're seeing in this backlash is the extreme grief for Kobe Bryant. And it's like, so with, again, which again, even the extreme grief is taking the rest of us outside of the West. And I'm going to tell you, I shared Snoop's video so fast. Yeah.
Because, and I shared it almost comically because I said, as a tweeter as I am, oh my God, Gayle has just reignited the East Coast, West Coast.
And this is where I saw it, and this is how I watched Snoop.
Because that's what I felt. When Snoop was talking, I'm like, oh, this was remnant of the Biggie, the Tupac. This was West Coast all day. Yeah. I'm like, oh, East Coast, West Coast is coming.
And this is it. I thought it's funny. I thought about Biggie and Tupac. I didn't know it would go this far. Again, how much do I know? I thought about Biggie and Tupac. Is that you're going to get this,
That was wet. You're
going to have this.
I was like this. I'm so glad I'm in the South. Because that was some East Coast, West Coast grief and rage all rolled up in one.
So this is where you say, I'm watching someone's rage and grief, and I may not feel the same way, and so I may not interpret it as grief.
Right.
I interpret it another way.
Because we're looking at it from the media perspective.
Absolutely. And so this is why I disclaimer is that I'm standing back and I'm looking at it from this angle. But there's a multitude of ways to look at it.
And our reaction was, as Gayle said, it's out of context. Let's put it all back in context.
Yeah, let's put it in context.
We went searching for the full interview. We knew very well what Gayle's interview style was. And we knew what it would have taken to get Lisa in a chair.
Exactly.
As much grief they were in. Yeah. Because mind you, at this time, they still don't know what they're going to memorialize.
Right. And to understand how an interview like that works, right? There are PR people involved, right? This is CBS and probably Gayle, but the producers at CBS reaching out to people who represent Kobe Bryant's family. The family says, here are the people that we would allow to speak for us. Because clearly Vanessa is not going to be out there talking about this.
And we know this is the reason Gayle is in the lead chair at CBS is because she has these connections. Right.
And she feels like a safe person to talk to. And so I think this is also part of, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves on just kind of talking about what happened in the interview. But again, Gayle has Gayle has relationships. And so this would have been set up in advance. Probably Lisa would have been given talking points and would have said, we're going to ask you about this, this, and this. Right. I would be very surprised if she didn't know that something would be said about the complicated legacy. Right?
I can't imagine going on CBS and sitting down with Gayle and you don't have the litany of questions that she's going
to
ask.
I
would not. I wouldn't see that as an open-ended discussion.
Right. And I'm not saying it justifies how it was handled, but I'm just saying clearly Lisa Leslie was prepared. And
I'm going to say the real problem to this is I almost guarantee you in that situation there were prepared questions.
Right.
But I will say I believe that the follow-up question where people felt like she was grilling her was when Lisa made the statement, Gayle, you could see Gayle's mind begin to tie Kobe to the Me Too movement.
Yes. And
when she said to her, but you wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
That was a two women thing right there.
And that right there is where
this is happening to me. Her thing to Lisa Leslie in that moment was, Lisa, wait, this is happening to me too. And I didn't know that the man sitting next to me was harming women. Yeah. That was that discussion. And unfortunately, it played out in the interview for the intended audience.
Yes.
But being in the clip, it went to the audience of people who were grieving for Kobe, and that is the problem.
And it was interpreted for whatever her intention was, whatever Gayle's intention was, it was interpreted as an extreme disrespect. Right. And it was also interpreted as challenging a woman on her own perception of a situation. Right. Which is often which is called gaslighting, right? So there's
back to gaslighting. Yeah.
So there are people who have said that basically Gayle was trying to make her change her position, and you can see in the interview that follow-up was not in the list of questions.
Was not in the list of questions.
And Lisa handled herself very well, and it didn't throw her.
She doubled back on what her position was.
Yeah, and it didn't throw her.
But it literally was the same type of question that you pointed out in the Weinstein interview, when she said this was an inferno.
Right. So and so
it goes back to the R. Kelly. Is a question very similar to the R. Kelly one.
And Gayle has a tick, right? If you watch Gayle,
right? Oh yeah. You can tell where her mind is going.
And so very much like a Barbara Walters interview.
It's a journalist thing. It's her.
It's like,
whoa.
And it's
you
brand
just gave
Gayle.
me a gem. Right. We just connected. Let's go with that.
And what Gayle does
is
she throws your name in there.
Yeah.
Which is like, sit down, Robert, for R. Kelly, right? She's like, when she
said, but Lisa.
When she interviews Weinstein's attorney, and she's getting ready to check her.
Was it Donna? What was
Donna?
It? Donna.
She's like, Donna.
See, why do I know this woman's name? Because that's a Gayle thing.
It's not.
That's a Gayle thing.
And this is, I'm your auntie, your mother.
No, don't say auntie.
I'm sorry.
This is where I got. Let me tell my white friend something right quick, okay? Now see, Gayle has already rebuked being an auntie.
All right, well then.
Okay.
See.
Yeah, Gayle, and this is another thing why Gayle is in trouble now, because the auntie thing is a black thing.
Right.
It's like we're now recognizing you as elder.
And that's really the term I should use, an elder.
Gayle was like trying to stay. There's a Beyonce
please.
Yeah, Gayle rebuked. Well, in that Gayle.
Yeah.
Friend of Oprah. Yeah. Rebuked being the auntie at the cookout
Okay.
Is why she's
will,
facing a lot of this stuff today.
Absolutely understand that. However, she spoke in the terms of someone who is an
She was
elder,
trying to be endearment.
a teacher.
She was trying to be endearment.
But it's a little bit of a condescension.
Yes.
Honey, dear.
And that's why she's in
right?
That's why she's
right.
in the problem now.
It's
and that's what that was with. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, there was and I think that.
Oh yes.
There's this, right?
Sorry, Gayle.
Yeah. And sorry, Gayle, but there is that. And so when you look at it, and she goes, Lisa. Right, and that is that, and
and that's the part that offended people because it made people feel like you are grilling a grieving
person, and that you are speaking to them in a way to make them question their own point of view. Where if you're interviewing Harvey Weinstein's attorney, it should be antagonistic, right? If you're interviewing R. Kelly, you can anticipate it will be antagonistic,
especially with him standing over you wilding out,
right? But
Robert,
right? But this interview was not positioned to be antagonistic.
Well, see,
and I don't feel like it came across as a gotcha. Although some people do.
This is the part that
but it's gotcha journalism.
It is, but
I don't care for.
We don't know because Gayle's position was. And based on the fact that apparently she doesn't troll the internet as much as her friend does, her thing was, man, it aired. Everything was okay. What is this? And again, it's because of the clip. And when you put it on social media, away from walls, borders, barriers, time zones, and intended audiences, she now then had to explain who she was, why she could even sit down, why did she have the audacity coming into this? She's having to explain why she had the audacity. Never mind the decades of journalism, never mind the fact that she sits in the lead chair on this show, or that she's done the history of radio, magazine, publishing, all this stuff, aside in her own right. And so that's another part of the problem, is that she's not being judged on this by any of her merits in her own right. It's like, it's Oprah and Gayle have a history of not giving a voice to black men. And that's the other part of this, and that's the other part of why Snoop's video had the tone that it had, because I was even afraid to even look at whatever 50 Cent was saying over there, because one of the things that I was trying to find a tweet that I said about how many things would come out through 50 Cent, but what are the positive sides to this? But the Snoop alerts are always interesting and important in many aspects.
And I think that's important to say, that he's an important voice and an influencer. And to not to minimize that, right? And not to minimize his response. Go ahead.
Well, Jason Hodge is on, and he's on the West Coast.
There's your East Coast, West Coast.
Clearly driven. And he says, you're on it. He says, Gayle tried to take advantage of a tragic situation to move the narrative. And I think going forward to that word narrative, I think we're going to have to really address that, because I'm trying to get us to have a discussion, and Jason is the one to have that discussion with, because he is looking at this from the lens that we are.
Right.
It's like, whoa, there's the chemistry, the science, the chemistry, and the chemicals, and all the things that are going in this pot, is we're trying to find out. If you were not in the intended audience, you probably were going on about your day and didn't even know that somebody as close to Kobe has spoken out. A lot of us missed what TNT did. Let's talk about Shaq. Please, somebody check on Shaq, because Kobe's, what we found out about Shaq is the Kobe loss hit him after losing his father, after losing his sister, I think there was even a fourth one. And this is a man who he says, hey, listen, I haven't shared this with you guys. He says, I don't sleep. Yeah. And then to get the way in which he got the Kobe, when he said he and his son and nephew were working out, and another one comes running in with the TMZ notice, and he's like, man, get that out of my face. I don't, that's some old Photoshop for this, that, and the other. And they had to realize that it was right, and then to find out it was not only Kobe but the daughter, and then also the think about Rick Fox even being on a thing. So all of these men, because it's going back to, there's another layer. I don't know if it's another layer to this, or this is really the cusp of what we're dealing with. Again, coming back to black men having a voice in this whole thing. Certainly not in a CBS. I can't imagine. We can go to CBS This Morning's page and see what the demographic was. And I don't know of a news network that has black men wholly in their demographic.
Very good point.
I mean, barely can find one that has black women. Okay, barely. I know we consume a lot of black folks, but we're barely in the demographic, if at all, if any. So I can't imagine that there's any programming going on CBS in the morning, no matter how many anchors look like you. There is not those that are curating your information. Jason says it was perfect media storm. We said that, where a lot of folks are going to leverage it forward while others, and you see if you got it on Periscope, leverage it forward while others are going to get caught in the undertow. Getting caught in the undertow is what's happening with this. I want to move on and talking about footnotes. And I was going to, just like we did the mobbing and misunderstandings, something that's going to be a part of Snoop's legacy. This will be a footnote in that. Our legislation is in session. Gayle King knows a lot of lawmakers. The tweet from Rice. You know, I believe, and this is coming up this spring, is when there is a lot of talk about the internet, and there's a lot of talk about laws, and you know they've always been waiting for that perfect media storm, something to happen so that they can start governing social media. And I guarantee you this is going to be part of that conversation. And I always say wait 3 days. Like I said, we are in session. I guarantee you somebody is drafting something right now to be added on to something we really need to vote for. And guess what? We're going to end up losing some freedoms. Even if we don't lose some freedoms, I can guarantee you all kind of entities will be going into meetings coming this week trying to figure out social media strategies. If you are like me, manage social media accounts, you know, because I got the calls. What should we do? How should we post? You know, can you go live? Can you host these things? You know, they're giving somebody at CBS is going to get thrown under the bus.
Oh, for sure.
And that I don't understand because they did what they've been hired to do. Where is social media not sensational?
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is that it has to evoke emotion. Like you say, manipulate emotion, at least evoke an emotion. That's going to either make you happy or sad or angry.
That's what it's
you won't share it if you don't feel something. Right.
But you don't want it to hurt. You don't want people to feel this kind of extreme, right?
But there's a whole conversation here about gatekeepers. And this is where you get into issues of gender and race, particularly race. Be curious to know the race of the person who was running that social media account.
I could probably say 99% white.
Probably.
Same thing we learned. I know everybody was shocked. Jamel Hill shared a link where one of the NBA, it might have been the NBA or one of the basketball teams, shared a video of who their social media team. And it's like, whoa, all those black basketball players. And you know, and you've got somebody writing their narrative every day in social media, and nobody in the room looks like them. Nobody.
And understand that even Gayle King, who is a prominent black woman journalist, has white authority, has white authority figures controlling.
I think we should know, because this person, with the control of their lens, took a screenshot of two African American women. Talking about the loss of a black male. And that was the part that they...
And amplified that.
And
this is the complaint, justifiably so, of black audiences. To say, why out of all of this does it got to be this?
But that's my fear. That's my fear. No, that's what the brothers are afraid of. Hopefully, brothers, that's what y'all are afraid of. Because even as they go to correct this, and we already see it happening, as they are promising to correct this problem. First of all, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. The fact of it was Gayle being on mute at the time that content that she had put together. You see, you can't go mute on this thing. When she said, I had no idea, and unbeknownst to me, and
I woke up, right? Did you say I woke up?
Yeah. And I'm like, you mean you went to sleep on the internet, girl?
Well, you know, she probably.
I had to get a call. I am leery. I am leery when people say they had to get a call.
Well, she probably goes to sleep at 8 o'clock in the evening.
And let me tell you why I'm so traumatized by people putting things on mute. People say they want to log off and shut down this and the other. The day of 9/11, when somebody literally had to take 3 steps, 4, 5, 6 steps, over to the president to tell him that we were being attacked. I'm like, wait a minute, this man is not wired. You literally had to get to him to tell him our country has been. I am always very mindful of how tuned people are into this. And this is another thing when people say tone deaf, why they felt like Gayle King was tone deaf is because, wait, but you did this interview, you know, in her mind, oh, the interview had aired and it was okay. It was okay with intended audiences.
Yes.
But, okay, well, the people who are actually grieving may not have been watching it, but the fact that you were so out of touch and tone deaf that people would, at other levels, as I say, wait 3 days, because, okay, it ran today, what's going to happen in 3 days? The fact that she was so out of touch with how news flows beyond traditional, that in and of itself, I think, needs to be addressed.
Yes, and let's
have some attention to that.
Let's drive that point home, right? You can take the content of that interview. That's all. And we could dissect that all day.
All day.
But what Yolanda's saying, which I think is so significant, is not being sophisticated as enough. Gayle King, right, who is a career journalist, not being sophisticated enough to understand that there are multiple audiences, that this content will be packaged in multiple ways, and to be shocked that this thing went sideways.
And to be shocked that, wait, you're shocked that I have an opinion on this?
Right.
You're shocked that, you know, that all I need to process is those little 30, little 50, I don't even know how long the clip was.
Right. And does Gayle recognize herself as a gatekeeper? And this is a question I thought about, you know, in looking at this. Because, you know, I've had many conversations online and offline. I've done nothing but talk about this for days because people
ad nauseum, as
people are calling me, they're texting me, they're, you know, public-private conversations, right, of every iteration of this. So, but the question becomes, what is the perception of Gayle as a gatekeeper? She is a gatekeeper of a type. Does she even
in
realize?
Her video, she basically tried to relinquish all responsibility.
But this is what really gets people. You know, is that she's like, well,
I'm getting mad all over again.
She's like, that wasn't me. That, you know, that was CBS. Look at it in context. Well, you go back and look at it in context.
I do laugh when she said she got somebody call her, and I'm like, and she did that voice. I'm like, is she mimicking Oprah?
Yeah, she's so funny.
Was that Oprah that called?
Probably.
What are you doing?
Yes.
Jason over, you check Periscope. You can shout out some of the people that are watching.
Yeah, and I'm trying to resist.
Jason says, but they know the power of immediate shock and awe can never be squelched by a retraction, and that's there's no.
That's true. There's no. You remember the first day.
They start the forest fire and fiend it to try to put it out with a garden hose. But the thing about it is, like we're saying, for Gayle not to even realize that there was a possibility that this was going to go beyond what she did on air. You know, she went home and was living her life.
And she was doing a Gayle King interview. This is a classic Gayle interview, right? And she did inject herself. And this is where she injected her experience. And like you said, you can hear it. She doesn't say, I had the same thing with Charlie Rose.
She doesn't say that. And so, but if you don't know.
Right. If you don't know, right? But there was clearly more in that piece of it than if you, and like I said, even if you look at the whole context.
Who are the people? Let's talk about this. Who are the full context people?
Meaning? I don't know.
Like people who took what, who wanted the full, because I'm in a conversation here on one thread where they don't even want they don't even want the full information.
Right.
They don't want to go look at the full interview. When she said a wide-ranging interview, they don't want that. They're like, no, and you have to, and then this is the other thing too, you have to be mindful that we have platforms out there that will not let you, because just like we showed a clip of both Gayle and Snoop. We couldn't show you all of it, but we showed you a clip of it, hoping that you'll want to go and get the gist of it. Where this came down to black men there's one discussion I'm in, and I said the question goes back to why black men were threatened. We were talking about did Snoop not threaten Gayle? Yes, he did threaten, even though he says he's nonviolent. The fact that he even came back and mentioned her age, I was like, okay, that's some more that whether you know it or not, that's true. Let's go to the aesthetics, though.
Yeah,
we're now I won't say we're saying the same thing,
right?
I think at this point we're trying to figure out who's hurt by this.
Yes.
I think we're so far beyond Kobe's friends.
Yes.
Because people quickly tied Oprah into it, and they tied the fact they say that Oprah and Gayle are opposing or against black men. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I don't even want to go back and click on their look. Like I just said to you guys, I don't want to go back and click on this whole thing, but. Carol Driscoll, and I hope I said that right. He says, y'all are tripping me out. Snoop didn't threaten Gayle. Lies. He goes on to describe the Crips. Don't care about their money or fame. Gayle will not do anything except remain their pet. And I don't understand. I understand what he's saying, because I guess he's saying, because we tried to have a discussion early on about corporate dollars.
Right, corporate dollars,
in this, and the fact that it's her job.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of our media people have been caught up for years over holding on to their job and really moving the needle on the narrative is a discussion. And a media association met just yesterday. I wish I had a chance to go. I'm pretty sure this was discussed there. But I'm trying to look back. He keeps saying the video didn't have a clear threat.
Well, and he said don't make us come find you, right? I mean, I would consider that.
He said come get you.
Yeah, come get you, right? Yeah. So don't make us come get you. I perceive that as a threat. Now you can say he didn't say we're going to come get you and kill you.
If you ever watch a Snoop video, you know that Snoop will go so far.
Yeah.
This was a phone drop moment.
Yeah.
This was a phone drop moment, and that's when you knew he was really hurt because he went there. He went all.
Well, he even says,
way.
"Am I going to go there?" It's like he's
he's
contemplating.
He said, "Can I say it, y'all?
Yeah.
Can I call it out?"
Yeah.
And then when he said when he called her out of her name,
right?
I was like, "Oh, that went too far." And then he did say some things on after that. Well, if you were Gayle or hell any of us. You were like afraid, and I was afraid, and I was like, "Whoa!" Because I literally said, "Whoa, that's real East Coast, West Coast. That's some gang stuff."
But
and
again, but back to this, just to wrap up while you're looking at these comments of this idea of gatekeepers. Gayle is a gatekeeper of a type, and of course, and she had control over how she asked questions, what she asked. You can disagree, and you hate that. You hate how she did it, whatever, right? And that you feel like she has an obligation there. That's fine. And
keep going. I'm trying to find.
I
know what it is. Here it is.
But we're also dealing with bigger gatekeepers, and I think that there a lot of that response. We're talking about who's hurt by this. Is this sense that we are constantly having to fight gatekeepers, and even when it appears that somebody that should be a gatekeeper for us,
this is the problem.
Yeah.
The picture, everybody's taking the screenshots of Oprah and Gayle with a number of white men.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, Weinstein, and there was somebody else. The discussion on here is where things where we were trying to figure out. One of the things I said prior to returning to TV, I was talking about Gayle's history and accusations. He says the accusations have been out there on these guys. Gayle has not done anything on these men. And that's when I shared the video, the interview that she has. And I'm like, that's just not the case.
No.
So there's some misinformation.
Well, that's back to your misunderstanding.
Right.
And it is, again, and it's this thing of blurring Oprah and Gayle, right?
Yeah.
And so you would have to go back and look at all of Gayle's interviews to see what this is Gayle, right? Over here on CBS, right?
Right.
Oprah is her own person. And Oprah has not done a show on Weinstein. I bet if she had the talk show right now, she would have done 10 shows on it. But again,
I don't know that she wants to touch it, because just as she is has been or has pulled out of these other contents, the documentaries, and so forth, she could have attached herself.
Well,
she could have attached herself
this
to
is
some
true.
Weinstein stuff.
This
So
is true.
There is. I don't know that there is any excuse for Oprah, and if it is, I'm not the one to give it. I'm just not.
And I think again, whataboutism? Well, what about this?
Yeah,
What about
and that's why
Weinstein?
we never get
what
resolved
about
because
it's
you
like,
start adding on all
right.
this other
And I'm like,
stuff.
that's fine. That's a different topic, though, right? Let's look at this. But this is where I go back to.
We're talking about control. So
right.
You're saying Oprah
is her own
control.
Oprah, to an extent, but she still has. She is a corporation.
So do we still? If we say that Oprah is a gatekeeper, can you still say that Gayle is a gatekeeper? I don't think they're called Gayle a gatekeeper.
There are multiple gates.
I don't know. Okay,
there's a gate to the gate to the gate.
Well, I mean, Gayle has a key to the gate.
Yeah.
The fact that she could walk into a full-on studio, offer the opportunity she did to Lisa.
Yes.
Okay, that is a gatekeeper at that level.
Yeah. But
then
there's
also distribution.
And like you said, who's creating this cultural narrative? And this is a big response to this, right? Is that Oprah would appear to be at a level where she would have more control of cultural narrative. What has she decided to do with it, right? What does she decide to do with her network? You can look at the evolution of all that.
Okay, let me say this. Because, again, the problem with Oprah is that even though she had, 20 years at the television, one of the reasons in my book that Oprah is a billionaire is because she created content that could be sold.
Yeah.
The issue that I know for a fact as a blogger of 30 years, 20 years at DryerBuzz.com is you cannot. It is very difficult to sell content where you give black men a voice.
See,
that has been the problem with Oprah, whether she wanted to or not. She could have done as many shows as she wanted to. Now, where Oprah's issue goes back to, somebody reminded me, was back to when it's far and wide. But the interview that she did back on her show with the cast of Crash, and she had the conflict with Ludacris. They said she literally attacked him. She baked him in he's hip hop. Hip hop is negative and this, that, and the other. Because at that time, we were dealing with gangster and uncut and all this kind of stuff, which he wasn't. Everybody has an uncut and so forth and so on. But the problem was, Oprah couldn't sell it. Nobody could sell it. Hell, I could not sell it. One of the things I talked about on yesterday, we said, well, what's in an interview is black men. You cannot sell the content which is why you only have 2 and 3 black movies a year and this, that, and the other. Now, are we buying? Are we producing? Are we not even buying and producing? Because we are. We're buying. We're the consumers. We have no problem being a consumer. We don't have no problem producing. We don't have any problem financing. But what we had the problem was in distribution. Yeah. Oprah became a billionaire because she had content that people were buying and could sell. Not even what people were buying, but that those large gatekeepers than her could take the content and sell it around the world. Yes. So she is looked upon because of the content that sold that was not giving voice to black men. She is looked upon as an outsider. Yeah. So we talk about a gatekeeper. It's a gatekeeper that they feel like they cannot approach. Yeah. Can she do anything about that? I don't know that she can because she has a network right now. Yep. And I don't hear. I mean, we know we got real-time data as to what black men watch and so forth, and I still don't see them as many black shows as on. We don't see them. And that's watching those. That's things, a very good point. Or feeling like they're in it.
And that's just a very good point about the bigger issues here. And Oprah answers.
So many bigger issues.
There are. God, this thing is got so much to it. It gives me a headache. And that Oprah figured out how to make money. Yay! And she answers to stakeholders and shareholders, and so she too has to answer to somebody, right? This is why she's out promoting Weight Watchers, right? And she's going around the country.
And it seems like she's kind of tired of it, but that's okay, Oprah.
And that's
and that's the part.
She has to answer. She's a part owner of Weight Watchers. She has to answer to Weight Watchers stockholders. So that means she's got to go around and
talk about that as opposed to this.
And so
we saw a clear example of that when she went on the Today Show. She wanted to talk about what was happening with Gayle, what was happening with this, and they were like, no, you got to talk about this tour.
And so this is the thing that I kept coming back to in this, where I felt like I could speak, as my lane, is to say, looking at So we've got Gayle King talking to Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant. Right. I said, is it about Gayle? It's about the question, right?
Right.
Is it about Gayle?
The follow-up question. Let's not say the question.
It's a follow-up
question.
Right. Is it about Gayle, right? Or is it about Gayle and Oprah? Is it even about Oprah? Is it even about Gayle and Kobe? I'm like, no. I said, this is playing out here, but it's about, or maybe I should do this.
Because it was an underlying. You're going to do this to Kobe too. The Kobe was an add-on.
Right.
It's Kobe too.
And it's it. You're
like
doing
me
this
too,
to
Kobe too. Like wow, y'all. Wow. That's it right there.
And I think
it's like y'all are gonna do this to Kobe too.
Yes,
that's what this was.
Yeah, and the man is barely in the ground.
Man is not in the ground.
Right, he's not. That's why he's not in the ground. They just released the bodies.
Right.
So and God, what was it? 2 weeks from today? I mean, it's just barely happened.
Grammy Sunday. What?
Yeah. So, but I think so. I'm like, this is where
Kobe
I'm looking at this saying how we can see something play out here.
Right.
That is really. Here.
And that's why it was so hurtful because and this is the part that hurts me is that when Kobe died, and this is why I say black men don't have the opportunity, we don't get a chance to see their whole 360 because how many people were sitting back, and you guys tell us, and I'm going to try and get back on.
And I'm going to have to wrap in this.
Yeah. But the part that really hurts, and I think that hurts black men and black women, even though y'all created that gulf again. But let me tell you what I understand that's going on is that when Kobe died, it wasn't until then that we got to see that the man had truly. That he truly had grown a legacy, that he truly had manifested into such a wonderful young man. I mean, he was already a wonderful young man. People want to say cocky, but he was courageous. He was literally brilliantly on a trajectory to where he is. And when Shaq said we won't get to celebrate his going into the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame speech and all of that, it's because that we don't get to see them in their full existence. And one of the things I said, we only get to see that in death. It's like, wow, these networks, all these networks. Like I thought Kobe. I hadn't thought about Kobe in forever, and absolutely forever. It's like so under the radar. Even though he had built up his tribe, even though he had did the whole Olympic thing, it's like nobody will put that on television. And now to see the love and the outpouring, we were denied that, and we have to continue to say that. This is why I watched the Snoop video because I'm like, whoa, this brother's been denied. Then I was like, whoa, where he going? Where he going? Where he going? But Kobe was denied. Kobe was absolutely denied. Here's a person. We were talking about. We used the word. What's the narrative? What's the buzzword that they're using? I mean, he fully turned his life around. Extolling the virtues. I saw that in a number of articles. The wonderful father that he was. I mean, if you look at his family, he and his wife, they have 2 older children. They had a recommitment, and then they started their family again to go on to have the 4. His full. I mean, people were also talking about the girl dad. I mean, we had a Kobe. It's like, where did that go? Where we had the amazing story about Kobe recognizing himself as a girl dad, and then you had everybody posting their, my father being a girl dad, oh, yeah, I'm a girl.
And that's such an interesting thing that this one interview with this literally like 2 minutes, even less, has managed to squelch all that. Right?
All of that.
Has managed to take over.
Which is why we understand they should be upset.
And this is the upset.
That's the upset.
And I think that I liked the use of the term complicated legacy that Gayle asked.
But
because everyone has a complicated legacy.
Right.
And and all of these things will be discussed, right? But it's so interesting how this one thing, which is not the thing, right? It's really not, right? It's so much more has blown up. Will it pass in a few days? Maybe, right? And we'll go, Kobe's funeral will come. Kobe and Gigi's funeral will be, tragedy.
And
There were
and that's the hard part.
Seven
That's
other
the part,
people. There were
that's
seven
the
other
part
people who
that
died.
should not sit well with anybody.
Yeah.
Is that the memorial has yet to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a footnote in that. And at the end of the day, as we get ready to wrap up here, and Jason Hodge, it showed that there is nobody safe, no legacy that can be reserved. Nothing is sacred with them. Please tell me with them. And when they're called upon to do the bidding of the machine, and yet they still descended upon his legacy to destroy it like virtue. Somebody else, we saw this conversation. I don't want to bring Bill Cosby into this, but when they got to talk about it, I still want to watch the Bill Cosby show. I don't like Bill Cosby as a person, but if you go back, thank God Twitter is forever. I have rebuked Bill Cosby ever since he first went on tour, boycotted any and all stops that he made in Atlanta, because I too felt like he was speaking. It's like, whoa, he's talking about, it's something undertow there. But I want to make sure that we end this, even though we had to talk from a blogger and a media and a publicity perspective, and even understanding Gayle and setting up her interview, even understanding the intended audiences, to let you guys know, one thing that I have blogged about is the language of men, particularly black men, and I know when I say that there's a hurt here, and one thing, if you go into any room when it comes to a television network, they do not properly know how to deal with the hurt. Now, they will know how to scrub the internet and fix this thing so that their intended audience is back on Monday morning, and they will know that, okay, this is some backlash that just happened. But what I want somebody to understand, because I have a son, and I need him to be able to turn somewhere and know that his story is going to be told, even if it's his mama doing it. But I need us to understand that in all of this, the reason it is a discussion is simply because black men feel like they don't have a voice. They just don't have a voice. There is no network. Even as far and wide as they excel in sports. You know, TNT only did their talk because the game was canceled. You know, there was a game schedule. You know, somebody decided, okay, this is too much. Let's not make these men play basketball and deal with this hurt. They're even talking about that because we heard a news clip where the Lakers, you know, they resumed their schedule, and they were talking about every city they go to, the city wants to do something for Kobe. So if they haven't played there already, they have to go in and there's a tribute.
Right.
You know, so every game, and they talked about how they have to try and take that and just use it to try to as a tribute and go for the win. You know, you know, and mind you that the memorial service is not until the 24th.
Well, and yes, and so consider that men are more likely to die from what they call deaths of despair, which is loneliness,
broken
depression,
broken hearts,
and that leads you to suicide, addiction, substance abuse, just risky behaviors, failing to go to the doctor. You know,
the risky behavior,
and so. And I think in all this that, and I will share words that were shared with me from a black man who said, we see polarization in all this. And so it is this, you know, you've got black men saying they're hurt, black women saying they're hurt, white women saying they're hurt. I don't know the white men are in this, but it's like women saying, well, there's a hurt here about you know, sexual assault. There's a hurt here about infidelity. There's a hurt here, and then there's a hurt here about our heroes.
And neither of the groups coming together.
Right. There's a hurt here about the only stories that are told are the bad ones, right? So you can have all of this, but the story that's being told is just this. Where do we see this with white men and women who were the white heroes? Who also have complicated, problematic legacies? Hell, we're finding this out with the founding fathers. There are people that are upset that somebody wants to talk about Thomas Jefferson. I'm like, Thomas Jefferson,
who never wanted us to get to this point where we had the freedom, where we could stop on a Sunday and create our own broadcast.
And there are white people that will fight to the death on that, right? I'm not saying Kobe's Thomas Jefferson. My point is that, and I thought this was so interesting, and I thank the person who shared this with me, is that when we get polarized, we get driven into this. But to acknowledge the hurt, right? To acknowledge the hurt that's behind this. And I looked at this and I realized, I said, when people say think about the family when you're talking about Kobe Bryant. I'm like, there are people who feel like Kobe Bryant is their family. And represents their family. And I think there's a way to be respectful and to talk about these things, but also to honor people who are triggered in other ways too. But I think your core message and your core issue about the hurt of black men, we have to honor that. And, you know, and I think that, and this is why.
If you had to name a place, even today, that you were going to stop and take in a broadcast or listen to something like this where it would honor the hurt of black men, could you think of something right off the bat?
Nope, I could not. And I would say maybe something related to sports. Maybe there's a podcast.
Right.
Maybe there's somebody talking about, you know what came to my mind? Larry Wilmore. He, you know,
who has his own controversy, but
he's got his own thing. But
and that's another thing about black men being denied. I listened to a podcast with him. And his own history.
Yeah.
You know, all we know is, you know, he did the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He was on, you know, I can't even. It's the fact that his history and legacy doesn't roll. Who knew he was a writer behind half the television shows?
Absolutely. And gets, like, no respect and no recognition for
None!
Yes, I mean.
And he had his own controversy.
Absolutely.
Clip.
Yes.
Okay?
And so,
because how many people were in the attendant audience for the White House Correspondents' Dinner versus how many people that heard the clip of him calling the president the N-word?
Right. So, yeah.
We say all this to say, we only have this little bit of time.
Yeah.
Somebody please go out there and hear somebody, see somebody. Don't let this become another polarizing
Exactly.
discussion.
And understand things can be both and. We want to be either or.
Right.
Things can
both
be both
and. That's it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We got 2 seconds to say anything else.
Well, I think, you know, we're trying to do our leading women words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Do we need to acknowledge anybody?
Yeah. And I had so many you want to see who was on here, and look at how many we have here.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So thank you for everybody who got on with us, and to say, I think both and is sort of the leading words of leading women words of wisdom. Understand that you can have a very strong response, and you may only understand a piece of it, and that does not negate the response of the other person. And if we can have conversations about these things, even if we disagree, and I've had some heated conversations on Twitter and Facebook, but none of them were rude.
Right.
None of them were, fuck you, bitch. Right? Pardon my French. Okay. And it's like
she just put our podcast in a whole category.
Sorry. And so sometimes we're going to have difficult conversations, and we may even agree to disagree. But if we're not
as long as we're not polarizing,
right? And,
I like that.
Right? And can we say that any one thing can represent many things?
Give Gayle some advice Monday morning.
Gayle.
And one thing she can't do is throw CBS under the bus.
No, you have to take responsibility for your interview. And could she have explained this better? I think so, and I believe that
had she done instead of along with the video along with the video after the fact, had she done a personal one-on-one video connect? Hey guys, I'm going to interview Lisa Leslie.
I would, and to say what her rationale was in asking this question and she talks about it a little bit. I think she could have gone deeper into it and said,
but see, that was a whole
in an era of Me Too, in this whatever she's thinking, because she was thinking something with my own personal experience. If she had said, with my own personal experience with Charlie Rose, with these things that are being said.
Well, here's a question, and here's a question I think everybody has in these experiences. I don't think that she should go on CBS to do anything.
No. I don't think.
Come Monday morning, I think it should be her regular broadcast. Again, like she said, they watched it. They weren't offended by it. So why go? And this is a part of the whole backlash of being in social media. Why go and let them know that I had some problem with y'all when I went home. I had some problem with my phone. Right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do it. I'd be the regular old Gayle, get that show done, and come back and talk.
Talk directly,
face to face, right? I wouldn't try to address it on.
No, I don't think
like you said, those television viewers, they ain't looking.
They don't care.
They don't know what's going on. They don't even know what's going on, Gayle.
I think she's got to talk to the social media audience. She's got to talk to that.
Well, being that Oprah went over there on the other network and talked about that's a problem.
Yeah.
So,
they're
like, what's going on? They're calling the grandkids. Go look on the Twitter.
Go look on the Twitter.
Tell me what they're saying about Gayle.
Go look on the Twitter.
They're like, Grandma, don't you watch this lady named Gayle King? Well, she... And they're like, well, grandson, what's the Snoop Doggy Dog?
Snoop Doggy Dog, yes.
No, but seriously to say, we hear you guys, we see you guys, and we come in on Sundays. On Sundays for Leading Women Weekly. I'm DryerBuzz.
I'm Angela Stallcup.
And Angela and I have to get back to life. Petty Betty, can you take us out? Petty Betty's like, no.
Nope.
I don't remember that producing part, so I'm going to step around the camera, guys. Bye-bye.
Go now to DryerBuzz.com and follow @DryerBuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all about the buzz.